Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU Audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Extension and Development Studies, SOEDS. Postgraduate Diploma in Population and Family Health Studies, PGDPFHs. Med 07 to Population Theories, Policies and Programs. Block 1 Population Theories. Unit 4 Neutralist School of Thought. 4.1 Introduction. Population of any country are the strength, weakness, opportunity and threat. SWOT for development. Over the period of time, many population thinkers have theorized population and development according to their ideas based on the contemporary situation of the country. We can observe from livelihood, status of the population and sustainable development approaches that population for research and development for population, and vice versa. It means population needs development and the development is for the population. But population size, structure and distribution are the demographic process to know the best option for utilization and consumption of the national resources. Each population thinker has opined that population is the threat and opportunity in research and development sector. For decades, economists and social thinkers have debated the influence of population change on economic growth. Three alternative positions define population growth: either 1. restricts, 2. promotes, or 3. is independent of economic growth. Proponents of each explanation can find evidence to support their cases. All of these explanations, however, focus on population size and population growth. In recent years, however, the debate has given insufficient attention to a critical issue: the age structure of the population, that is, the way in which the population is distributed across different age groups, which can change dramatically as fertility and mortality rates change. David et al., 2003. There are three debates on population and development based on thinking. The pessimistic, population growth restricts economic growth. The optimistic, population growth can boost forced economic growth. The neutralist, population growth has no significant effect on economic growth. In this unit, we will studies on the neutralist thought on population and development. After reading this unit, learner will be able to I. Explain population thinkers. 2. Discuss the different thinkers on population and development perspectives. 3. Describe neutralist theory of population. 4. Narrate the base of population and development thoughts. 4.2 Population patterns. Any idea of population and development would be generated based on the population trends and patterns. Figure 4.1 shows that in 2023 TFR of India is 2.113, which is very near to replacement level of fertility rate 2.1. After independent, India's TFR in 1950 was about 5.91, and each year population growth was increasing with decreasing rate, and maybe after 2 years, India's TFR would be below replacement level. Among Indian states, Bihar has reported higher fertility rate in both rural and urban areas, whereas Sikkim has reported lower TFR during 2019 to 2021. Rural India has reported TFR at replacement level, while urban area has reported below replacement level TFR. Further, we can see in figure 4.2, average TFR of less developed countries are 2.955, lowest TFR has been recorded in Moldova, followed by Ukraine and Bhutan, whereas highest TFR has reported by Republic of Congo, followed by Angola and Nigeria. Table 4.1 Total fertility rate in India 2019 to 2021. Look at the screen. Current trends of population growth in Indian states are varying. Some of the states are reporting higher growth rate of population while some of them have reported low growth rate. Majority of Indian states have reported that they have reached replacement level of fertility, while more than half of the Indian states are experiencing below replacement level of fertility rate. Earlier estimate of the Population Council showed that at least 120 million women in developing countries have an unmet need for contraception, while the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, estimates that half of the world's 175 million pregnancies a year are unwanted or mistimed. In developing countries, excluding China, approximately one-fourth of all births are unwanted. Bongartz, 1999. Research suggests that if women were to reach, but not exceed, their desired family size, this would achieve targets for fertility reduction in 13 out of 17 countries whose governments have quantitative targets to reduce fertility. Sinding, Ross, and Rosenfield, 1994. Lack of knowledge about contraceptive methods, concern about possible side effects, and the possibility of disapproval from partners and other members of the community have been identified as key factors limiting use of family planning services. Bongartz and Bruce, 1995. The impact of family planning programs on fertility rates has been highly significant, exceeding the impact of socio-economic factors such as rising income. It has been estimated that programs have reduced fertility by between 1 and 1.5 births per woman and accounted for roughly 40% of the decline in fertility in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. Bongartz, 1997. However, not all programs are equally effective. The most successful take advantage of latent demand for contraception and focus on lowering barriers to the take-up of services. 4.3 Population and Development Ideas. By thinkers in brief. Population thinkers have proposed their ideas on population and development on the basis of population trends and resource consumption. David et al. 2003 stated that because people's economic behavior and their needs vary at different stages of life, changes in a country's age structure can have significant effects on its economic performance. Nations with a high proportion of children are likely to devote a high proportion of resources to their care, which tends to depress the pace of economic growth. By contrast, if most of a nation's population falls within the working ages, the added productivity of this group can produce a demographic dividend of economic growth, assuming that policies to take advantage of this are in place. In fact, the combined effect of this large working age population and health, family, labor, financial, and human capital policies can affect virtuous cycles of wealth creation. And if a large proportion of a nation's population consists of the elderly, the effects can be similar to those of a very young population. A large share of resources is needed by a relatively less productive segment of the population, which likewise can inhibit economic growth. After tracing the history of theories of the effects of population growth, this report reviews Evidence on the relevance of changes innate structure for economic growth. It also examines the relationship between population change and economic development in particular regions of the world: East Asia, Japan, North America, Western Europe, Australia, and New Zealand, South Central and Southeast Asia, Latin America, the Middle East and North Africa, Sub-Saharan Africa, and Eastern Europe and the former Soviet Union. Finally, it discusses the key policy variables that, combined with reduced fertility and increases in the working age population, have contributed to economic growth in some areas of the developing world. Early thinking about population. Chinese, Greek, Indian were desiring large populations, but some thought on limitation, optimum size, and their recognition of resource constraints, especially limited land, and concern about quality of population weeding out the weak. Exposure. Generally, population growth desired in the concept of be fruitful and multiply fill the earth. Mercantilists and physiocrats are two schools. In Europe 16th to 18th centuries, mercantilists, Machiavelli, Botero, Serra, de Soto, Vittoria, Petti, large populations desired for trade, production, protection of trade routes, consumers, but also recognition of resource constraints. How to overcome this? Physiocrats, Mirabeau, Quincy, Vincent, strong link between land agricultural production and population, food. The basic requirement, non-agricultural activities, sterile. Population size constrained by resources, natural order. Optimists, Condorcet, Godwin, no resource constraints. Then, or in near future, self-regulation, political justice. Malthus, 1766 to 1834. Malthus, an essay on the principle of population as it affects the future improvement of society, first published in 1798, revised later, widely discussed, also criticized. Population growth geometric while that of food production arithmetic. Food is necessary to the existence of man, and the passion between sexes will remain high, nearly in the present state. Solutions of population problems. Positive checks, famine, starvation, malnourishment, disease, infanticide, raising mortality, path of vice and misery. Preventive checks, moral restraint, celibacy, late marriage, abstinence. Not easy to adopt. Contraception was not advocated, this was considered to be immoral. Emigration cannot be a long-term solution, and per head food availability will inevitably fall, leading to starvation. Borsrup. Borsrup argued strongly that population's pressures induced many technological developments in agriculture, cultivation systems explained as the results of population density. Asterisk from gathering to cultivation, clearing of forests, bush, forest fallow, bush fallow, short fallow cultivation, annual cropping, multi-cropping with irrigation. Asterisk digging with stick, use of hoe, plow, plow with animals, steel plow. Asterisk change in crops root, cereal, grass, selection of seeds. Asterisk selection of land for cultivation, use of fertilizer. Asterisk more labor needed for intensive cultivation. Times long-term rise in labor productivity. Times but there were spells of decline, famines, wars. As labor was drawn out of agriculture. To renowned population thinkers are reading in the literature, i.e., Malthus and Borsrup. Their ideas are contradict to each other. Former proponents said that population growth is threat of food security, while later had proposed population growth is opportunity to force development of agricultural technologies. Thus, Malthus was negatively inclined towards population growth while Borsrup was thinking positively towards population growth and agriculture. Borsrup said, if population growth rate is higher, then the opportunity to develop new agricultural technology to feed the mass, whereas Malthus was worrying the death of population owing to shortage of food supply or by starving at a particular point of time because trends population growth rate is mathematical 2x to x2, while agricultural growth rate is arithmetical 2 plus 2 plus 2 in trend. Therefore, food for population and population for food production should be in the balancing mode of development so that it can be ensured sustainable development. Thus, both Malthus and Borsrup are treated as pessimistic and optimistic thinker of population and development, respectively. 4.3.1 Pessimists. David et al., 2003, has mentioned Rand report as taking the population of the world at any number, 1,000, millions, for instance, the human species would increase in the ratio of 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512, etc. And subsistence as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc. In 2 centuries and a quarter the population would be to the means of subsistence as 512 to 10, in 3 centuries as 4096 to 13, and in 2000 years the difference would be incalculable. Malthus, 1798. Another pessimist thought has given in 1968, for instance, Paul Ehrlich opened his influential book The Population Bomb with the words, "The battle is over." In the 1970s, hundreds of millions of people are going to starve to death. Ehrlich, 1968. Thus, the pessimistic theory says population growth restricts economic growth. 4.3.2 Optimists. Optimists have opposed pessimists' view on population and development, and they have promoted idea that population growth can be an economic asset which can fuel economic growth. Simon Kuznets and Julian Simon are optimists. Book The Ultimate Resource, 1981, by Simon, revealed that rapid population growth can actually lead to positive impacts on economic development. He states the tendency of natural resources prices to decline in the long term because of technological progress induced by the growing demands of rising populations. Esther Borsrup uses similar argument to turn the Malthusian pessimistic views. Thus, optimists were suggesting that a multiplicity of external factors was responsible for the consequences of population growth. These factors could have either positive or negative economic consequence. T. Fenn Srinivasan said many of the alleged deleterious consequences result more from inappropriate policies and institutions than from rapid population growth. This broadening of the discussion on population growth eventually led to population neutralism emerging as the dominant view in the demographic debate. David et al. 4.4 Neutralism on Population and Development. The neutralist theory of population growth proposed that there are no significant effects on economic growth. Adam Smith, which is called father of economics, in his path-breaking inquiry into the nature and causes of the wealth of nations in 1776, he has asked why some countries were richer than others. He found his answer in the division of labor, which allowed workers to become more productive by honing their skills at ever more specialized tasks. In recent years, economists considering the economic effects of demographic change have been more interested in Adam Smith and in his narrative of the power of the market than in Thomas Malthus's dire predictions about population. Most economic analysis has examined the statistical correlation between population and economic growth and found little significant connection. Though countries with rapidly growing populations tend to have more slowly growing economies, figure 4.3, this negative correlation typically disappears or even reverses direction once other factors such as country size, openness to trade, educational attainment of the population, and the quality of civil and political institutions are taken into account. Figure 4.3, GDP growth and population growth, David et al. Figure 4.4, overall population growth and economic growth, David et al. Look at the screen. The portion of economic growth unexplained by these other factors. It shows that this residual growth bears little correlation to population growth rates. In other words, when controlling for other factors, there is little cross-country evidence that population growth impedes or promotes economic growth. This result seems to justify a population neutralism, figure 4.4. The neutralist theory has been the dominant view since the mid-1980s. Bloom and Freeman, 1986. Although there are some variations within the neutralist school of thought, with the National Academy of Sciences, ASNAS, concluding in 1986 that slower population growth would be beneficial to economic development of most developing countries and many world Bank economists suggesting that in some countries bigger populations can boost economic growth. The overall tendency is to accord population issues a relatively minor place in the context of the wider policy environment. David et al. P17. Alan Kelly has suggested that population neutralism has in fact been the predominant school in thinking among academics about population growth for the last half-century. For example, the academic background papers too. Even the most pessimistic UN and NAS reports are much more moderate in tone than the reports themselves. Kelly cites three major research areas that influenced the rise of population neutralism in the 1980s, and these are as follows. 4.4.1 Natural resources. Exhaustion of natural resources was found not to be as strongly affected by population growth as the pessimists thought. Technology, conservation, and efficient market allocation of resources all play a part in preserving natural resources, and per capita income has been shown to be a key determinant of supply and demand for these resources. 4.4.2 Saving. The negative impact of population growth on savings and a consequent negative effect on economic growth was not borne out by studies. 4.4.3 Diversification of resources. Whereas the pessimists had thought that population growth would lead to a diversion of resources from the formation of physical capital, which would yield quick returns, to the formation of social capital, e.g., child health and education, whose returns would take longer to be realized, multi-country. Studies showed that this did not in fact happen to any great extent. According to Kelly, these studies, coupled with the impact of Julian Simons, the ultimate resource on extending demographers' view into the longer term, were crucial in bringing neutralism to the fore, and the theory has since had an enormous influence on policymakers in developing countries and on the international development community. The Reagan administration and several donor agencies sought to limit support of population programs and simultaneously appealed to neutralist theory. 4.5 Importance of age structure in population theories. Age and sex are the best indicators of population structure, which is depicted in the form of population pyramid. Age structure of population indicates the working age population, which is called as economic active population. All views on population and development, either pessimism, optimism, or neutral, should link with population age structure. Proponents of population pessimism, optimism, and neutralism can all fall back on theoretical models and more or less robust data to support their positions. All of these theories, however, tend to ignore a critical dimension of population dynamics: population's evolving age structure. Economists have tended to focus on population growth, ignoring the changing age distribution within populations as they grow. Yet, these changes are arguably as important as population growth. Each age group in a population behaves differently, with distinct economic consequences. The young require intensive investment in health and education, prime age adults supply labor and savings, and the aged require health care and retirement income. Figure 4.5. When the relative size of each of these groups in a population changes, so does the relative intensity of these economic behaviors. Figure 4.6. This matters significantly to a country's income growth prospects. Policymakers with a broad view of development and the complex relation between economic and human development must factor these effects of changing age structure into decisions about their country's future. This challenge is especially pressing in the developing world. In those countries whose mortality and fertility rates are beginning to fall, South Central Asia and much of Sub-Saharan Africa, for example, there is an opportunity for governments to capitalize on the consequent demographic transition, where the number of working age adults grows large relative to the dependent population and potentially acts as a major economic spur. Conversely, if the appropriate policy environment is not in place, unemployment and instability may result, and health, education, and social welfare systems may undergo unbearable strain. Those developing countries whose transition is advanced, on the other hand, Southeast Asia and Latin America, need to look to the future, adopting policies to cope with an aging population and optimize the remaining years of low dependency ratios. Figure 4.5. Life cycle income and consumption. Figure 4.6. Population growth and age structure. Look at the screen. We know that demographic dividend based on age structure of the population of any country. At present, India has larger population of working age and India try to reap this phase of population transition. 4.6. The demographic dividend. David et al. Have mentioned that the demographic dividend is delivered through a number of mechanisms. the most important are labor supply, savings, and human capital. 4.6.1 Labor supply. The demographic transition affects labor supply in two ways. First, there is an essentially mechanical effect based on the regular and inevitable aging of the baby boom generation. When this generation is between 15 and 64, it is more likely to be working, thus lowering the ratio of dependents to non-dependents. During the peak working years of 20 to 54, this effect is especially strong. The number of people who would like to work, labor supply, therefore gets bigger and, provided the labor market can absorb the larger numbers of workers, per capita production increases. Women are more likely to enter the workforce as family size declines. This effect is magnified by the fact that, with adult women themselves more likely to have been brought up in small families, they are more likely to be educated. This increases their productivity in the labor market, leading toward a stronger workforce and smaller families. 4.6.2 Savings. The demographic transition also encourages the growth of savings, thus improving a country's prospects for investment and growth. Again, there is an accounting effect as well as a behavioral effect at work. The young and the old consume more than they produce, whereas working age people tend to have a higher level of economic output and also a higher level of savings. Further, people tend to save more between the ages of 40 and 65 when they are less likely to be investing in their children and the need to prepare for their retirement is becoming more pressing. So, when large numbers of baby boomers start hitting their 40s, national savings will tend to rise. Incentives to make certain choices can reinforce this tendency to save among the new young baby boomers. Improved health and longevity make saving easier and more attractive. A healthy population must plan far in advance if it is to maintain its standard of living through decades of retirement. Pensions are made even more important by smaller families and the mobility that urbanization brings. An extended family often takes care of its own elderly relatives. A nuclear family, with both parents working, is far less likely to do so, although the two-owner family's increased assets make it better able to provide care financially, if not physically. Additionally, private household savings can provide the capital accumulation needed to finance growth, as seen in East Asia. Further work is needed, however, to take account of the institutional features of pension systems when assessing the importance of the demographic transition to the determination of national savings. 4.6.3 Human capital. Finally, the demographic transition has significant effects on investments in human capital, effects which are the least tangible but may be the most significant and far-reaching. The demographic transition begins with changes in mortality that result in a population that lives longer and stays healthier. A longer life expectancy causes fundamental changes in the way that people live. Attitudes about education, family, retirement, the role of women, and work all tend to shift. A society, especially if it is taking full advantage of the demographic dividend, is certain to experience deep-rooted changes in its culture as its people become more valuable assets. Take education, for example, the positive correlation between education and earnings is well known. In Latin America, for example, a worker with 6 years of education earns an average of 50% more than one who has no formal education. The premium increases to 120% for those with 12 years of education, i.e., those finishing secondary school, and exceeds 200% for those with 17 years of education, i.e., those completing tertiary education. As life expectancy increases, parents are likely to choose to educate their children to more advanced levels. Healthier children, in turn, tend to experience greater cognitive development per year of schooling than their less healthy counterparts. The parents also know that there is a good chance that each child will benefit from schooling investments over a long working life and, with fewer children, can devote more time and money to each child. The result of this educational investment is that the labor force as a whole becomes more productive, promoting higher wages and a better standard of living. Women and men therefore tend to enter the workforce later, partly because they are being educated for longer, but they are likely to be more productive once they start working. All these mechanisms are heavily dependent on the policy environment. A growing number of adults will only be productive if there is sufficient flexibility in the labor market to allow its expansion and if there are macroeconomic policies that permit and encourage investment. Similarly, people will only save if they have access to adequate saving mechanisms and have confidence in domestic financial markets. Finally, the demographic transition creates conditions where people will tend to invest in their own and their children's health and education, offering great economic benefits, especially in the modern world's increasingly sophisticated economies. But governments invariably play a vital role in creating an environment where high-quality health and education provision is possible. Necessary steps to make the most of their country's demographic opportunities. David et al. 2003. 4.7 Summary. In this unit, we have got to know that population is the assets and liability of any country or of any society. Age and sex are the best indicators of population structure, which is depicted in the form of population pyramid. Age structure of population indicates the working age population, which is called as economic active population. All views on population and development, either pessimism, optimism, or neutral, should link with population age structure. Proponents of population pessimism, optimism, and neutralism can all fall back on theoretical models and more or less robust data to support their positions. All of these theories, however, tend to ignore a critical dimension of population dynamics: population's evolving age structure. Economists have tended to focus on population growth, ignoring the changing age distribution within populations as they grow. Yet these changes are arguably as important as population growth. Each age group in a population behaves differently, with distinct economic consequences. The young require intensive investment in health and education, prime age adults supply labor and savings, and the aged require health care and retirement income. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the